right at the beginning. It's quite remarkable for such inexperienced rowers, really looking like they weren't phased that much by that at all. But as you said, Durham looking very, very long and relaxed. Lots of Durham supporters down near the commentary box as they're coming past us now.
It's interesting to see a full Oxford or Cambridge University crew here as well. It's always really difficult with these college crews because, the colleges are relatively very small entities. So actually, for them to put out an entire boat into this and to not have a composite is a pretty impressive thing.
Yes, but Pembroke women over the years have shown incredible depth in their crews, and the Oxford Women's Boat Club president last year, Catherine Erickson, was from Pembroke Boat Club, and the representation that they've got in the GB squad at the moment in Flo Pickles is from Pembroke College as well. So huge depth within the college, and I'm sure these girls will be drawing on the experience that they've had racing with them in summer rates to.
And Kate Erickson and Flo Pickles actually both racing at Henley Women's this year.
Yes,
but
for different
unfortunately,
clubs.
For Pembroke College.
I think it's also worth noting that the difference between rowing in an 8, which is certainly what the Pembroke College girls would have done all year compared to a Coxless 4, is incredibly different, and quite an extreme change to make from going from an 8 into a Coxless 4, which is known to be a lot more temperamental, much more twitchy, touchy. You've got to really be in sync with each other, whereas an 8 you have got a bit more stability. It is a bigger boat, you've got a Cox steering it for you. It's a bit more predictable with what it's going to do. But great to see that the girls really trying to expand their rowing experience into these races, which I think was what the, introducing a Coxless 4 was to do, to give those extra experiences.
Next race is on the course now. This is another race of the academic Coxless 4s. Again, looking like serious trouble with the steering. We have here the University of London on the Berkshire station versus York University on the Buckinghamshire station.
And it's looking like a lot of the steering issues are coming from the Buck station, which is interesting. I don't know whether there would be a reason for that, Zoe. Can you, having been on both stations many times, do you think that there's a difference in them in steering?
No, I don't think so, to be honest. I think actually in that last race, it looked a little bit like UL causing some of the problems by coming out, well away from their station, and then perhaps York reacting to that. It's surprisingly difficult to go straight off the start. My first ever Henley Royal Regatta race, I think I was warned about 8 strokes in. So, you can say what you like about my steering, but you shouldn't really you shouldn't be doing that as a Cox. So I think it's not an easy thing, but it does look now like this UL crew sitting quite comfortably in the middle of the river. York University on the Buckinghamshire station, just trying to stay up, but now actually University of London being warned, which an interesting decision from the umpire. I think there's a little bit of flexibility in my understanding once a crew is a couple lengths up. There is a little bit of flexibility, so a crew can move more into the middle of the race at race stations, but obviously the umpire here thinks that they are impeding the crew from York, no matter how far up they might be. So has been warning UL back onto their station.
And as we can see, UL really bringing the rate down now, looking like they're having a nice, relaxed paddle going into the closing stages of this race, but with still maintaining that commanding lead over York.
Yeah, you can see now that University of London crew just taking it down and starting to take a little bit more time over things, just allowing themselves to relax. Probably starting to think about their next race now, making sure they get down from A to B without any accidents befalling them.
It's always incredibly difficult when you're told, finish one race before you start the next. When you've got a lead like that, you can't help your head starting to wander to the following race. Or do you think it is a very distinct thing, Zoe, between starting? Oh, and we've got another race off, just in the bottom left-hand corner of our picture. Nottingham University on the Berkshire station and KSRV Nord on the Buck station. Hang on.
Okay, so coming up next, we've got another heat of the academic aspirational Coxless Fours, and then we've got 4 races in the aspirational singles, followed by 4 races in the aspirational club 8s, followed by the next 4 races of the aspirational signals, and then to finish off that next batch of the club 8. So we'll have singles 8s coming up next, and then we'll keep you informed of what's coming up and who's going to be on the course as best we can.
And have you got any kind of contenders there, Zoe, from the singles and the club 8? So obviously we've got Tideway Scullers, that's the one that's jumped out for me from the club 8s. Huge depth in their squad this year.
Yeah, I think of all the crews that I know from the club 8s, they're certainly the ones who've have put themselves on the map so far this year and have shown their most speed. I'm afraid the singles I would be guessing, but I imagine a Miss S Redgrave is hoping that her name lives up to that of its predecessor and gets her a good result here. We also have another race of the academic 4s. Manchester University on the Berkshire station. Oh, sorry, Nottingham University on the Berkshire station, and Njord from the Netherlands on the Buck station. That Njord crew, we've actually got their 2K erg PBs, and there looks to be some strong athletes in that boat. Some 3 ergos, close to 7 minutes for 2K, which is a good score for a club, a club athlete, really, a student athlete. So not surprisingly, they're showing a fairly confident lead here over the crew from Nottingham University. I suspect this Njord crew might be one to watch in this aspirational academic 4s.
And the start of the final heat from the aspirational academic Coxless 4s is underway, with Manchester University on the Berkshire station and the Southampton University A crew on the Buck station. It's looking in like a nice clean start from this heat, which is nice to see that the crews are sticking away from each other, really just being allowed to get into their race without thinking about steering quite so early on. Although Manchester have just been warned, as we've heard from the umpire's launch.
So a cleaner start there for those academic Coxless 4s, and this is the top boat from Southampton University, so really hoping to see good things from them as they come down towards us in our commentary booth. Looks like a relatively close race. Southampton definitely with the lead. Manchester look like they're starting to struggle a little bit with that steering. Just zigzagging a little bit as they come down towards us, not having the easiest time of it. Southampton looking bang on down those Berkshire booms. Do you have much experience of steering Cox's boats yourself?
Not side-by-side racing, but I have steered quite a number of training sessions that I've been unintentionally thrown into the bow seat. And it is, I was actually asked by a girl in the King's College London boat for any steering tips. And I said, well, you've got to be, don't crash was the priority. But also it's, don't try, in training, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, looking for where you're going, where you're looking for, what you're aiming for next. But here you're actually steering based on what you can see in front of you. So the distance that you can see the blades off of the booms at the side of the course. You really are steering from what you can see on the stern rather than what you can see behind you. So it's a completely different set of skills to steer Cox's 4 in a race compared to in training. And I think from what I've seen, we've had a few crashes. But these girls, once again, I'm a reminder, these girls have not been rowing for very long, so to be able to race not only as a rower but also as a steerswoman in these races is an incredible show of the range of skills that they've had to develop over a very short period of time. Also, the other difference in a Cox's 4 is you also haven't got someone shouting at you to keep pushing, which having been in both Cox's boats and Cox boats, it does make a huge difference to how the boat runs and to how the race plan is executed. I don't ever think a Cox should be underestimating their value to a boat to be able to maintain that race plan, particularly in side-by-side racing, to be able to have someone with a cool head to keep to the race plan and execute it in the way that it was intended. So I think that's a comfortable win for Southampton University, but we will wait for those results to be confirmed. But we've just had the start of the